Right now, I'm standing on a ledge, okay? And this is a steep drop. What is up? Quazi here. And I just got back from Richmond, Virginia this morning at 8 a.m. My flight got delayed last night, so Friday night I was supposed to return at around 8 p.m. But instead I returned this morning at 8 a.m. And my company, I actually went there for a summit, so a conference for my internship, and my company was fortunate enough to provide me with hotel for that cancelled flight, which I had to spend the night at the hotel. It was a very fun experience for me, being in that conference with 200 other interns. So I got to meet a lot of people, and meeting a lot of people, I always learn deeper spiritual lessons and affirm current spiritual principles that I already know. And again, that was a very important lesson, very important trip for both spiritually and also professionally. It's also crazy to think that I was visualizing around maybe this time last year, no, even later. So around December of last year I was visualizing, and I set myself a goal to get a summer internship, and I wrote it down on a piece of paper, and it finally happened. It's beautiful. Just focusing your mind on the things that you want to manifest in your life, and when they do manifest, it's just beautiful. And that leads me to the topic of why sometimes things aren't manifesting into our lives. So why is it that we're not getting the things that we want sometimes, but other times we're manifesting effortlessly? Now, I want to talk about this topic because it's very personal to me, and I've been trying to manifest certain things into my life, and those haven't been happening. Now, before I begin talking about that, what I want to say is that manifestation, I've learned a lot about it, and what I want to share with you is that manifestation, it's like this. You have awareness, and when you visualize and you focus your thoughts and your intentions, the key word is intentions. When you focus your intentions on the things that you do want and not the things that you don't want, then what happens is awareness is like a ball of light, and when you bring awareness into the things that you want and the things that you want to manifest into your life, what happens is this ball of light energizes those thoughts and intentions. And once those thoughts and intentions get energized, and the more you keep focusing on them and the more awareness you keep bringing onto them, it literally fills up to the brim. And once it fills up to the brim, it just manifests. But most of the time, what we're doing is we're focusing too much awareness. Now, there is such thing as being too focused. So too much intention, too much of any good thing is a bad thing, as you may have heard. So too much of intention is a bad thing, too much of thought in one matter is a bad thing. And this takes me back to my good old friend David R. Hawkins. And as I was saying, awareness is like a ball of light, and whenever you put this awareness into your thoughts and your intentions and the things you want to manifest, it literally energizes them, and then you manifest certain things but other things you don't. And as I was saying, David R. Hawkins has this theory and his understanding of surrender. And what surrender is the thing that just takes away that dense energy you put and the attachment that you put to your goals and takes it off. So when you create an attachment to something, you're building up what is known as desire. And desire is a very deep reality transurfing principle. So many of you have read Reality Transurfing, but again, this is one of the best books on manifesting ever. It's maybe perhaps the Bible of manifestation. It leads me back to this topic of why some things manifest and other things don't. When we want to manifest something, we have desire, and once we exercise our desire, it becomes intention. So intention is literally desire with action. When you transmute desire into action, then you get intention. But what happens when you make desire is you raise this level of excess potential. So this idea is called excess potential. And what excess potential is the thing that's moving you away from manifesting your goals. Excess potential is something that nature wants to balance out. So one of the deepest laws of nature is the law of balance. And whenever you disturb nature's balance, it'll always act to balance out this excess potential. So when you attach excess meaning to something, and when one of your goals becomes a desire, a very deep desire to get it rather than an intention, then you generate excess potential. So what we don't want to be doing is generating excess potential. When you generate excess potential, nature acts to balance it by the simplest path possible. So nature acts to balance excess potential by taking the path of least resistance. When it does that, maybe it's gonna take you away from your goal or give you your goal. So if your goal is to make $100 by the end of today, if you attach too much meaning to it, then it's either not gonna give you the $100 or it's going to just give it to you because it's going to be easier for it to do. And we don't really know how nature works, and we don't need to know how it works. We just need to know that this kind of concept exists and it's in play. So we can sort of work around it and manifest the things that we want. The question is, how do you not attribute excess potential? How do you prevent the generation of this excess potential? Before I talk about that, I want to elaborate on what excess potential is a little bit more, if it isn't clear. Right now, I'm standing on a ledge, okay? And this is a steep drop. And as I'm standing on this ledge, I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel at ease, as much ease as I would feel if I were down there on flat ground. And as I'm walking on this ledge, you see it's a very narrow ledge. As I'm taking a step on this ledge, I'm feeling a little bit of fear built up in me. And what this fear is a representation of excess potential. The more fear I build, the more I'm disturbing the energy field of this cosmos. Because fear is just, it's not homogeneous, and it's disturbing the energy field of this universe. And when the energy field of the universe is disturbed, excess potential is at play, and the law of nature dictates that excess potential must be balanced out. So if I stand here long enough, this excess potential that's generated, nature is either going to throw me off this ledge by tipping my balance, or I'm just going to get back down soon enough because I don't feel comfortable here. Basically, when I generate excess potential, I can't stay at this level of excess potential for a long time. And depending on how high the level of excess potential is, it's just going to mean that I'm either going to stay here for really long and nature's going to throw me off quickly, or I'm going to immediately get off. So I hope that makes sense. But if this ledge were narrower, then that would be even more difficult for me, and there'll be more fear generated in me because I'll be working harder to keep my balance, even harder than I'm working currently. That is the law of excess potential. As I generate a higher level of excess potential, then nature's going to work harder to either throw me off or put me back. Now, how does this law of excess potential relate to you achieving your goals? Okay, this is a very important question, and this is the million-dollar question. And this literally makes the difference between you manifesting your goals and some of the goals that are being easily manifested. And usually the goals that you do manifest, you don't attribute excess importance to it. Now, importance is also a key idea that comes up a lot in reality transurfing. So when you attribute excess importance to something, such as you generate a lot of emotions like fear, those are excess potential emotions. So fear generates excess potential, and attaching excess importance to something generates excess potential. So when you get attached to a goal, something you really want, you want it so bad and you can't live without it, then that goal has excess potential and it just won't be manifested at all. Now, what we want to do is get rid of this excess potential. Now, how do we do that? Okay, so we know that we're generating excess potential through attaching excess meaning and being attached to our goals and the things that we want to manifest. So desire is creating excess potential. Now, we want to get rid of this excess potential, and I want to share with you the key idea that's going to help you get rid of excess. Going back to the teachings of David R. Hawkins, he says that the surrender mechanism is something that everyone possesses. It's an innate quality to surrender all sorts of emotions and all sorts of attachments to goals. And the biggest misconception about goals is that people say that if you want something bad enough, you're going to get it. And this is just not true. Because as we know from reality transurfing, if you attribute excess importance to a goal, you're never going to manifest it. So you're going to generate excess potential and it's just going to be taken from you. Now, how do you combat that? Well, this takes us back to surrender mechanism. And what surrender mechanism is a three-step process. First, whatever emotion you feel towards something, you let it rise. Okay, think about this. You're trying to manifest a goal into something into your life, and you're frustrated that it's not happening, right? So you feel emotions of frustration. And what we want to do is surrender these emotions of frustration. And the 3-step process is, first, you make a declaration. So you say, I surrender. I surrender this feeling, and I surrender the act of achieving this goal. So what we want to do is we want to get to a point where we're okay with not having it at all, but we're also okay with getting it into our lives. So we're okay either way. Life is still good either way. That's the frame of mind we want to come from. So that's step 1, making the intention to surrender. Step 2 is going really deep into that emotion. So that goal you want to manifest, it's causing you a lot of frustration, and that frustration is building up excess potential. Any negative emotion that's heavy, you're going to feel this. A lot of negative emotion that calibrates below the 200 scale in David R. Hawkins' map of consciousness. It is heavy and dense, and it weighs you down. It's not life affirming, but rather it's life sucking. It just sucks the life out of you, and it's dense. It just weighs you down. So any of those emotions we want to surrender and move up to the higher emotions that's going to help us manifest things effortlessly into our lives. Step 2 is fully feeling the emotion as it rises. That frustration that you feel, don't fight it. Just let it be. I can't really articulate this or intellectually tell you what it's like. You're just going to feel it. So step 2, just let that emotion be. Let that frustration be. Allow yourself to feel it fully. Now, how I like to do the release is once I've I felt the emotion fully, sometimes I'll break down into tears. Once I just let it in, and I think about all the worst things, like the bad things, the terrible things that could happen if I don't get this goal. So if I don't get that 4.0, oh no, what's gonna happen? What if I fail this semester? I just think about it a little bit, but I don't focus on it. I think about, okay, you know what? That could be a possibility. I could fail. I just allow all the negative emotions to just be there. I don't fight it, because whatever you resist persists. So the last step to fully surrendering, and the 3rd step, is to just surrender itself and to let go. And how you're going to do that is through a breathing technique, a pranic breathing technique that we utilize. So this breathing technique is very ancient, and it's just a simple breathing technique. You'd never really know that it would help you manifest your goals. But basically what you do is you imagine that all the dense energy and the dense emotions that you've harbored and your attachments are all centered in your solar plexus area or your stomach area. So it's all in the stomach, and what you do is you imagine an inhale and you take it up, all the way up to your mouth, and breathe it out. And you do that 3 times. So you close your eyes, imagine a ball of negative energy that you're breathing out into the world. You're just releasing it. It's a release. So you do that 3 times after you've done the first 2 steps. But even when you've done that, you haven't released all of these emotions. So you haven't fully let go yet. And you're going to have to keep doing this 3-step process over and over again every time you feel this negative emotion. And that is how the process of surrender works. And you'll see that once you keep doing this, you'll start to surrender these emotions. You will know that you've surrendered these emotions once you don't even feel the pull of these emotions anymore. So you're going to start thinking about these things, but the energy behind it, it's going to get lower and lower every time. That's because you're letting these emotions be fully, and you're surrendering the energy behind them. So they're no longer weighing you down, and they're no longer causing the excess potential that they used to cause. So anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope this really helps you, because the surrender mechanism was very important to me, and it was a very big breakthrough for me, because I was always questioning why some things would manifest and other things wouldn't. And that's also because previously I talked about the energetic difference between what you want and what you don't want, but also because you're generating excess potential. And the last thing you want to do is hamper yourself from achieving your own goals. So the last thing you want to do is be your own enemy in achieving your own goals. And most of the time, we are the only ones getting in our way of getting the things that we want. It's funny that way. But with that, till next time, and I'm gonna go get some dinner.